Hey everyone, welcome to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Samantha Ann and I talk about books. So welcome. Today we are going to be talking about Nonfiction November. So Nonfiction November was, I believe, created by Book Olive. I could be misspeaking, but I will have all the information in the down bar below. If you are interested in watching the rough TBR that I set for myself, I will link that up above. But today we are going to be talking about the actual books that I did read during Nonfiction November. November was actually a really good month for me, and I ended up reading 13 books overall. And of those 13 books, 5 of them were nonfiction. And they had a very clear theme, which you will see in just a second. So let's just jump right into those. So first book was Her Skelter by Vincent Bugliosi, and this is about the crimes and trial of Charles Manson. If you have lived under a rock, then Vincent Bugliosi was the person who actually tried the case for the prosecution for the Manson family. And whenever I went into this, I knew kind of the general things about the Manson family that most people know, but I wasn't really familiar with it aside from that. And so I found this book extremely interesting. I gave it 4 stars. I listened to it on audio and it was narrated by Scott Brick. He did an excellent job. The thing that struck me the most about this book was in going through like the investigative process and collecting the evidence and things like that. Oh my holy Jesus, there were a lot of incompetent people on that case, and it was really interesting watching what that process looked like then versus what the process looks like now. I mean, you can turn on the TV, Discovery ID or whatever, and you can see what that process looks like, and you can see how quickly people can get caught. You know, it's almost impossible to get away with anything nowadays. But, you know, that was definitely one of the things that struck me. And the only thing that I really wanted to see more of from this book was I really wish that I could have seen more of the background of Charles Manson. But from my understanding, we don't really know much about his background just because of how he grew up and when he grew up. So I did enjoy it, definitely. I wish that I had been able to see a little bit more of that. There were parts of the book that definitely did drag because it is fairly long, but it was overall really interesting. If you are interested in true crime, you know, the psychology of serial killers, which I know I have mentioned multiple times that I am really interested in, I would definitely say pick this one up. It's a good read. And then after I finished that, I was like, oh my gosh, I need more true crime in my life. So I decided to go ahead and pick up In Cold Blood by Truman Capote. This is another one that I did on audio. So this was basically about a murder of an entire family in Nebraska. Oh my gosh, it's somewhere in the Midwest and I do not recall exactly where it is. I gave this one 3 stars. This is the second best-selling true crime novel of all time, only second to Helter Skelter. And I don't know, I just wasn't really feeling it as much as I wanted to feel it. It was also narrated by Scott Brick, so again, the narration was excellent. One of the things that he also did to me was parts of this felt very like speculative, like he didn't really have all of the information and he was kind of filling it in himself. And I don't know if that's true or not, but I do know that whenever I was reading about this book and, you know, his investigative process and things like that, that there are actually details in his book that was wrong from the actual case. So I think that was another reason after reading that I was like, don't really trust you now. But so that's why I gave it 3 stars. But I do feel like if you're into true crime at all, this is a book that you kind of need to read because it's the second best-selling book in this genre. So I mean, I would definitely say pick it up solely based on that. And the third book, are you sensing a theme here? And that is The Road to Jonestown, Jim Jones and the People's Temple. And this is another little blip in history that I was vaguely aware of but didn't really know the circumstances of. Man, what a whack job. Just the things that happen there are just appalling. The book is called, I gave this one 4 stars, and the book is called The Road to Jonestown, and it really is the road to Jonestown. You actually do go from the very beginning of his life, you know, from the little bit of background that they had on his mother to what happened in Jonestown. And so I was really appreciative of that because you got to see step by step, you know, where he came from and what led him to that point. It was really fascinating to see like the things that he did and how he really gained followers and the people that he preyed upon, and, you know, again, like that psychology of it. But if this is a subject that you're at all interested in, I definitely recommend this particular book. It was informative, it was well written, it was, you know, really good. So, and to continue on this morbid trend, the next book is Smoke Gets in Your Eyes and Other Lessons from the Crematory. This is by Caitlyn Doughty. And this is pretty much about a woman and her experience working in the crematory. And this book was really good. Yes, it was definitely morbid at times. If you're squeamish at all, I would maybe skip this one. But the thing that I appreciated most about this book was the insight that it really gave into the death industry. And what I mean by the death industry, I mean funerals and caskets and flowers and all of these things. And really what that process looks like. And I definitely thought a lot about what I want to happen to me whenever I inevitably do go. And there were moments where I literally laughed out loud, and then there were, again, moments where like you're really thinking, wow, you know? So there's definitely a good balance there. She's really intelligent, and I think she's written one other book that I would really be interested in reading. Although the subject matter seems morbid, I definitely came away with a lot from reading this book. It's pretty short. I listened to the audio, and it was narrated by herself. So if this is something that's been on your radar and you're interested at all, definitely pick it up. It's really good. I gave that one 4 stars. And the last book that I read this month, and I actually finished this one right on time, was You Don't Have to Say You Love Me by Sherman Alexie. And this is basically a memoir, and it's a memoir about himself and his relationship with his late mother. And this book was so good. 5 stars. Sherman Alexie, if you are unaware, is one of the most well-known Native writers in the United States, and this was actually the first book that I've ever read by him. This book goes back and forth between, there's like 170, 80, 90, I'm not sure, but there's hundreds of chapters in this book, and each of them is just a little snippet, and it's a mixture of prose and poetry, and there's so much emotion in these pages. But at the same time, there were moments where I was laughing hysterically. Like, I know I posted about it on Twitter because I was in the break room at work, and I am laughing so hard. Like, I'm almost crying. I'm laughing so hard. And the person that was in the break room with me is looking at me like, girl, what is wrong with you? But I'm laughing so hard because it's so funny. And then you get like 10 pages next and you're wanting to cry because there's so much raw grief and emotion. And it was so good. I can't say enough about it. If you at all read memoirs, and even if you don't read memoirs, I think that you should read this book. It is so beautiful. So many things about it are so beautiful that I can't even like articulate how beautiful it is, for multiple reasons. So I just think that from this wrap-up video, if you choose one book to read, out of the 5 that I have mentioned, this should be the one. Hands down, this should be the one. It is so good. If I could rate it higher than 5 stars, I would. So those are the 5 books that I read for Nonfiction November. And honestly, I had read a couple nonfiction books up until this point. Just a few though, but I'm really glad that I read these for this month. I definitely think I still have a whole list of nonfiction sitting in my audiobooks as well as my ebooks and things like that. I still have a ton of nonfiction to get through, and now I really want to read more nonfiction. So I definitely think that that's something that you guys are going to see more of in the coming months. Is, you know, there's going to be some nonfiction sprinkled through all the fiction. But I'm really glad that I participated in Nonfiction November. I feel like just reading these 5 nonfiction books in this month has really changed me as a reader. I feel like it's definitely opened my eyes to a lot of things. So I'm really grateful that I decided to, you know, go ahead and do that. And I want to thank the creators of Nonfiction November because, again, I feel like not only is it changing me as a reader, but opening myself up to different subject matters in the form of nonfiction is, you know, going to change me as a person. Like I said, several of the books that I read really made me think about things. And so, you know, I'm really grateful for that. Did you participate in Nonfiction November? Because if you did, I would really love to see the books that you read, because now I want recommendations. So if you did do it and you have a wrap-up video or just a video that has nonfiction in it, leave a link down below. I really want to watch it. I really want to talk nonfiction with you. Have you read any of the books that I talked about today? If you did, also comment down below. Let's talk about them. You can also get at me on Twitter, Instagram. All of the links are in the down bar below, as well as the end card at the end. So if you like this video and you want to see more, make sure you click thumbs up and hit subscribe if you have not already. And as always, thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you all next time. Bye.